So the other day I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on US politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States.
As you just heard, Tucker Carlson is alleging that the CIA has been spying on him, reading his text messages, and essentially preparing some sort of criminal case against him that the DOJ will go after him for, essentially framing him as some sort of unregistered foreign agent. Now, as we all know, Tucker Carlson has been a target of the pro-Israel crowd because of the fact that he's been a vocal critic of the US alliance with Israel, along with Israel's genocide in Gaza. But more importantly, Tucker Carlson has lobbied pretty aggressively to prevent the US war against Iran. Unfortunately, he didn't succeed, but it has made him a target. Cenk, your 2 cents?
In a stunning coincidence, you're about to see that Israel First is ecstatic over this, but probably had nothing to do with this case starting in the first place. How many assets of Israel are in our government? That's a really important and interesting question. And then you have to wonder, if Tucker does get arrested, are we next?
Oh, there'll be riots, by the way. Like, the unrest that will ensue will be significant. But nonetheless, here's more of what Tucker had to say.
I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because I'm from here and I have a lot of kids. So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it, and that's provable. And moreover, it's my job to talk to everybody all the time and try and figure out what's happening around the world. That's literally what I do for a living, and I'm not gonna stop doing that, nor should I don't think. I'm also an American, so I can talk to anybody. I have no secrets to divulge. So legally, I think the case is ludicrous, and I doubt it'll even become a case. I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons, though, and they're pretty obvious. One is that countries tend to become more authoritarian in wartime. It's just the nature of war. People are dying. The stakes are high. People's emotions have risen to a very high point, to a crescendo. And so there's much less tolerance for any kind of dissent in the homeland. The irony, of course, is the United States fights wars on behalf of freedom, but there's always less of it here in our country during war.
I would like to dispel the notion that we get involved in wars for freedom. Okay, that's not what's happening here, obviously. But also, just a quick note on the whole idea of people engaging in anti-Israel commentary because they're getting paid to do it. Okay, for the pro-Israel crowd, at some point, you have to actually engage with the substance of what people are saying instead of just blowing it off as, oh, they're probably getting paid by Qatar. No, you don't want to address the substantive arguments that are being made, and that's obvious. Tucker Carlson is super wealthy. And even if he weren't super wealthy coming into media, his show is incredibly successful. He doesn't need to get paid by a foreign power in order to say the correct things he's been saying so far about Israel, our relationship with Israel, and this disastrous war.
Look, he made tens of millions of dollars at Fox News. No, the reason why they say that is because every Israeli accusation is a confession.
100%.
Israel literally pays influencers here $7,000 a pop. They are buying our media. Larry Ellison is, TikTok, CBS, CNN, etc.
They're not making good on those payments, by the way, and they're getting sued. But
okay,
continue.
Good. Oh wow, the Israelis betrayed you. That is so stunning.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't deliver on their promise of paying you, huh? Well, that is super surprising. So yeah, they do that accusation because they think, well, why else would you do it? We're all crooks who serve Israel because we got paid to. and the politicians and the media, so they assume that others must also be doing that. No, there's a thing called patriotism. I know you don't know anything about it, and like you don't care about the truth, you don't care about Americans, but other people in this country actually love this country and care about it, and we don't want our troops dying. We don't want to waste our entire fortune on Israel. But since you're all crooks who work for them, I know that's a foreign concept to you.
But even if you think that is the case, you still have to address the substance of the arguments that are being made. And it's just so lazy, it's so pathetic. The thing is, they don't have an argument. They can't refute the claims that are being made. So it's like, oh, he's paid, it's Tucker Carlson, which
That's so.
It's a little bit of a clever insult.
I don't think so at all. I think it sounds super dumb. Anytime somebody says Tucker Carlson, I think, oh, that's a person literally being paid by Israel to betray America.
No, I think that too, but Carlson just sounds funny. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Now, as you said earlier, Cenk, there are certain people who were very happy to hear what Tucker said there, including Laura Loomer, unsurprisingly, who says, I can't wait to see Tucker Carlson go to prison.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah. Okay, not for Tucker, but one day, Laura, one day.
Even Israelis are weighing in on this. So Israel's special envoy for trade and innovation weighed in to give the Trump administration its orders. Tucker Carlson should be arrested and tried for treason.
Oh, we'll take it under consideration.
Yeah, that's an Israeli. How about you shut the F up?
How about anybody who listens to you should literally be arrested for treason because they would be a foreign agent taking orders from a foreign government, the thing you're charging Tucker Carlson with. Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
Now here's the thing though. Axios bullet point compiler Marc Caputo says that the White House denies Tucker's claims. Okay, so he says, specifically, I'm told there's no CIA investigation of Carlson. In his meeting, the two politely disagreed, meaning Tucker's meeting with President Trump. They disagreed and Trump held to his position. Iran was a threat and didn't mislead him. Said one source, Trump wasn't participating in an op. Okay, so what is he referring to about Trump not participating in an op? I do believe that this, I don't know if Trump is part of it, I doubt it, right? But when we talk about the deep state, it does seem like there's some sort of concerted, organized attack against Tucker Carlson, because as soon as that video came out, there was a message that the pro-Israel crowd was putting out that was very similar, right? So let's go to Shabbos Kestenbaum. Okay, that's the former Harvard student who's a propagandist for Israel and one of the most dishonest and disgusting people I've ever had the displeasure of having to interact with. He says, on January 17th, I called a friend of mine at the White House to express concerns about Tucker Carlson visiting the Oval Office. Who the F are you?
Yeah,
to
who
like
are you?
Gatekeep who the president can talk to. Like, who are you? Like, okay, but let me continue. She answered rather cryptically, quote, just trust the plan. Little did I know, the plan meant, we know Tucker is speaking to the Iranians, so we're using him as a useful idiot to bait the Ayatollah and kill the IRCG leadership. Oh, and then we'll arrest him for espionage when this is over.
So wait, you're now coordinating with the White House, this Shabbos Shalom guy or whatever his name is.
Kestenbaum.
Okay, yeah. And so you guys are coordinating to figure out how to help Israel and catch an American media and use an American media guy as a casualty of your secret plan to help Israel, but he's the one working with a foreign government?
I know, it's amazing.
Shabbos has never defended any country but Israel in any of the debates we've ever been in. It's always like, Israel's the greatest. Israel's never done anything wrong, you're the most moral. Everyone who is opposed to Israel is an anti-Semite and they should all be canceled forever. So now this guy has enough access to the White House where he's doing secret plots on behalf of Israel. I mean, it doesn't get any more ironic than this.
There's Avi Yemini, who's not even an American, he's in Australia apparently. He says this photo is hilarious in hindsight. Trump knew Tucker was talking to Iran, so he invites him to the Oval Office before the strike, knowing Tucker will run straight back and relay it. Iran sees this photo, thinks Tucker has Trump's ear, thinks Trump is bluffing. Meanwhile, and then he basically repeats the same alleged plot that Shabbos Kestenbaum put out. So my point is, Cenk, immediately after Tucker comes out with this video, you have the pro-Israel crowd coming out with similar tweets or posts on X, which communicates to me that this is orchestrated. And look, it's not like the Trump administration hasn't gone out of its way to violate the speech rights of Americans and green card holders if they dare to be critical of Israel. In fact, here is Secretary of War, I should say, Pete Hegseth, essentially chiding the media for its coverage of the Iran war. Apparently the White House doesn't like it, it's not favorable enough. They're totally okay with speaking out against the media, attacking them. Here's the latest example.
Some in this crew, in the press, just can't stop. Allow me to make a few suggestions. For example, a banner or a headline, Mideast war intensifies, splashing on the screen the last couple of days, alongside visuals of civilian or energy targets that Iran has hit, because that's what they do. What should the banner read instead? How about Iran increasingly desperate? Because they are. Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage. CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better.
You guys didn't think about the Strait of Hormuz, which is why Iran has effectively shut it down, you moron. And then on top of that, Iran increasingly desperate. You guys are begging other countries to join the war because the US is increasingly desperate. What are we doing here? The media, by the way, has actually been embarrassing in the way they've covered the war in Iran. Right? They've been much more deferential to the administration and the Israelis.
Yeah, so he says it's patently ridiculous to think that they didn't think of the Strait of Hormuz. Of course they did. That's why it's blocked now and we have no answer at all. Oh wait, it doesn't look like we had, if we had any plans at all, apparently they were terrible plans, because Secretary of War Hegseth, is the Strait of Hormuz closed or isn't it?
Yeah, we're not gonna take advice on how to do our jobs from a drunk who can't do his own job. How about that?
Look, there's a bottom line here. Right now, the president, Caroline Levitt and others are begging our European allies and our Asian allies to come help us with the Strait of Hormuz because it's closed and we don't know how to reopen it. So the only thing that's patently ridiculous is that Hegseth has any idea what he's doing. Okay, now to the larger point here about Tucker. So as you saw in the tweets, there is no question that the Israel First Alliance in this country and other countries, in Israel and Australia and America, they're all saying the same talking points. So as Anna pointed out, that is orchestrated, that is coordinated, which then leads to the question of who did they coordinate that with? Was it with a foreign government? Because it's helping a foreign government. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got more on that, but go ahead.
Okay, but let's stay on that point for a second, Cenk, because I want to go to this video from Tucker's show today, because he addressed something that Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, did in regard to violating the speech rights of Americans. Here's what I'm talking about, take a look.
There was a not famous enough moment where the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who's I think been a pretty good governor in some ways, but traveled to Israel to sign what looked like hate speech laws that are applicable in Florida.
He actually went to Israel twice to sign laws in Israel that applied to people in Florida. The first one was kind of benign and had some connection to Israel. The second one, though, which was in, I believe, 2022, when he was gearing up to run for the Republican primary nomination, a big part of what the strategy was they were going to get, and they did get, most of the hardcore fanatical Zionist groups and pro-Israel activist types and pundit types. They lined up not behind Trump, but behind Ron DeSantis. And I don't want to completely mischaracterize the law because there is some, you can overstate it, but it absolutely was a law that took certain speech and prescribed it, not for the people in Israel, but for the people in Florida. And it was about funding hate speech programs. And again, only about anti-Semitism in Israel. And he went to Israel in order to sign it.
When you go to a different country to sign a law that doesn't benefit your citizens, but benefits that country, that looks like coordination with a foreign government, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Guys, it is enormously strange for the governor of Florida to go to any other country to sign a law. Can you imagine? He's like, oh, I really want to go to Honduras to sign this bill for Florida because it's going to help the people of Honduras. You'd be like, what? You're the governor of Florida, what are you doing, right? But when it's Israel, all of the press and all the politicians go, attaboy, way to serve Israel. Okay, no, there's assets all over Washington that work for Israel. And it is exceedingly obvious, and a lot of the governors, over 30 of them have passed laws that limit American speech rights. If you are criticizing Israel or you're calling for a boycott, sanction, or divestment from Israel, you no longer have First Amendment rights in over 30 states in America. I don't know if all those governors went to Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa to sign it, and then to maybe they could shine Netanyahu's shoes while they're there. Okay, bunch of traitors to this country. You're talking about Tucker Carlson's a traitor?
Let's talk about traitors.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No, hold on. I gotta ask one more question about coordination. Then we'll come back to the rest of it.
Yeah.
So. Okay, now all of the media figures coordinated for Israel first, as we showed you. But Trump says he doesn't know anything about this. And I actually believe him on this one because of the context of this story. And so if Trump doesn't know it, but Tucker's right that a reporter called him with his text, knowing, so obviously his privacy has been invaded because a reporter knew what his texts were. How else would the reporter know? And the reporter says they got it from inside the government and potentially the CIA. So are there people inside the CIA and the Justice Department also coordinating with those same media figures and that same foreign government? And how deeply ironic is it to coordinate to attack an American media figure in this country for opposing Israel with the Israeli government while pretending he's working with a different government?
It's amazing. Let me just note that our Justice Department under the Trump administration has declared repeatedly that they do not intend to open up any investigations into any of the individuals who have been named in the Epstein files. So when it comes to potential pedophiles, can't be bothered to pursue prosecution. When it comes to the US ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, his secret meeting with convicted traitor to the United States, Jonathan Pollard, something that the US, the White House was not informed about ahead of time. It was a secret meeting, no punishment whatsoever. He literally met with a convicted traitor to the United States.
To coordinate. That is also someone from a foreign government. And I say this every time, Miriam Adelson and Sheldon Adelson flew out Jonathan Pollard in their private jet back to Israel and gave him a hero's welcome for betraying America on behalf of Israel. And those are the guys who gave Trump over $300 million. I mean, you want to talk about coordinating with a foreign government? We literally they ordered our president to coordinate with a foreign government that had spied in on us to give the traitor back and give a hero's welcome. But one last one, Lindsey Graham, practically bragging about how he went to and talked to the Israeli government and Netanyahu and gave them advice on how to convince the American government to go into this disastrous war. Well, that is obviously coordinating with a foreign government to influence our government's actions. But they admit their treason in front of everyone, but since almost everyone in Washington is a traitor and works for Israel, everybody goes, oh, that's normal. That's normal. It's not at all normal. Yeah. And those same liars in Washington today pretending to be outraged potentially at Tucker Carlson. Can you believe that he might be working with a foreign government? You're all working for a foreign government. In fact, when people announce it and declare it in front of everyone, you congratulate them rather than going, hey, wait, isn't that illegal? Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.